Don't read the last line. The story of the Green Light, Lady of Bayview Cemetery. A Twin Lights Caravan original. Prologue, 2 Eyes on Waterwitch Bay.
We have watched longer than most names last. 2 towers on the Navasink Bay, 2 lantern chambers, 2 spirits of old, 2 lenses turning. The bay below us is a mouth that never closes, always chewing at pilings and secrets, eager to devour the next story that prints itself into the history books. Whispers say we guide ships like the water witch of old. Men say we keep lights for lost souls. Wives pray we bring back fathers to families. The truer tale is this: we watch, we count, we keep the night in order. When something refuses the natural rules of dying, our beams find it the way a needle finds a vein. Below us, the pit of Armageddon exhales. It breathes like a thing pretending to sleep. Gog is restless in his domain, bound in spirit, bound in hunger, always ready for the latch to fail. On certain nights, the fog lays itself down like a shroud, and the ocean turns iron sweet as if it remembers blood and cannot forget the taste. On those nights we see her, a woman in white, not bridal white, not Sunday white, funeral white, ghost lit. She moves through Bayview Cemetery in Leonardo as if the grass owes her an apology, and she demands one of the land. And when our light turns over her shoulder, she glows faintly green. She was once warm. She was once living. She was once very, very loved by a boy who died at 7. Now she is a routine, a ritual, a hunger that learned how to look like grief. And we have never blinked at what she does. Tonight, you are going to hear her story. Tonight, you are going to give her something: your attention, your breath, and your voice, if you're careless.
6:38 p.m. The beams find you. The car climbed the Highlands Road with the windows cracked at 6:38 p.m., the late autumn air sharp enough to make your teeth feel clean. Nate Mahoney drove with one hand, thumb hooked lazily around the wheel, the other hand drumming a rhythm on the center console like he was already editing the night in his head. Lila Cross sat in the passenger seat, balancing a camera bag on her thighs and a folded legal pad of notes on top of that. She had written the words "Water Witch Secrets" and "Bayview Myths" in block letters, and retracing over the words to the point the paper was close to tearing. The words "secrets" and "myths" underlined twice and circled like it was some ritual. In the back seat, their audio guy, Denny, held a handheld recorder up near the window. The red light blinked, steady as a heartbeat.
"Those fucking twin lights are creepy as hell from this angle,"
Denny said, half to himself. The towers rose behind them, a paired silhouette on the ridge. The lenses turned, and the beams swept the bay, slow and ever patient. Nate smirked.
"They're lighthouses, man, not friggin' demons."
Lila didn't smile back. She watched the beams touch the water and then the trees and then the road ahead, and she felt, for just a moment, like the light was not traveling outward. It was searching inward.
"Don't say demons,"
she said.
"This is an easy shot. In, out, spooky B-roll, one clean scare story. We post, people comment, blah, 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 we move on."
Nate reached down and tapped the folded notes.
"Green Light Cemetery, The White Lady, Leonardo's greatest hits."
"Don't forget the rational explanations,"
Lila said. She recited it like a prayer.
"Old caretaker lantern, car headlights, marsh gas, light pollution, good old New Jersey smog."
Denny snorted.
"Marsh gas doesn't blink like a person."
"My Aunt Bertha's gas is a horror story."
Nate laughed out loud.
"You gross, Nate."
Lila lifted a brow.
"You've seen it, Denny."
Denny hesitated.
"Nah, not like that. But my cousin, he used to come here in high school."
"Everybody's cousin did,"
Nate said.
"Everybody's uncle, everybody's friend's friend. Legends get passed around like cigarettes in World War II. especially around Waterwitch and those goddamn twin lights.
He put his signal on even though there was no one behind them, and the car slid down toward Leonardo, where the land flattened, the trees got tighter, and the bay smell grew stronger. Salt and rot and something faintly sweet, like seaweed left too long in a bucket. The beams of the twin lights swept them one more time, as if keeping track.
And if you had been outside, standing in the road, you might have noticed the way our light lingered on the car, how it gleamed across the hood, coiling into a hypnotic swirl like the eye of a storm that hadn't decided to make landfall yet. Just a fraction too long, like recognition.
2. The gate that doesn't warn. Bayview Cemetery sat where you'd expect something old to sit in a town that keeps reinventing itself, tucked behind modern life, pretending not to exist, while the bay breathed behind it. They passed the elementary school and the rec center, and came around a bend in the road. The gate was simple metal, green paint peeling in thin strips that looked like fingernails. A sign read, Bayview Cemetery in plain letters. No flourish, no warning, eerie in its simplicity. Denny read the rest.
Established 1889. Open sunset sunrise.
Okay,
Nate said, climbing out the 2010 Honda Civic, late 20s, athletic in a restless way, dark hair cut short, a faint stubble shadowing his jaw. He stretched like he was about to go for a jog, hoodie under a weathered jacket.
let's get some establishing shots before it's too dark.
Lila stepped out slower, the camera strap crossing her chest like a bandolier. She had a blunt, practical prettiness that didn't ask permission. Dark hair pulled into a low ponytail, a few loose strands sticking to her lip gloss from the damp, sharp brows over eyes that missed nothing. A black hoodie hugged her shoulders under a thrifted denim jacket. She wore black jeans, pearl-studded at the seams, a relic from her goth phase back in high school. Scuffed brown boots. The air felt different here, not colder exactly, more damp, like the night had been rinsed and hung to dry. Denny moved around them with the recorder up. Mid-20s, lean and a little jumpy, as if caffeine lived in his bones. Dark brown curly hair shoved under a knit cap, faint acne scars catching the light when he turned. A puffy windbreaker hung off him, zipper half broken, and his fingers worried the recorder like a rosary, capturing gravel crunch, distant traffic, a faint wind that made the trees hiss. They walked through the gate. The gravel path spoke beneath their feet. Some cemeteries feel like parks. This one felt like a room people stopped cleaning. Rumors of hauntings and evil spirits causing families to abandon loved ones. Headstones leaned at angles. Some were fat and old, their names blurred by time. Others were newer, straight-backed and clean, with polished faces that caught the last light and held it like a secret. Lila nodded toward a low area where the ground dipped. She lifted her fist to her mouth and blew warm air into her knuckles, more out of instinct than comfort, as a sudden chill swept through the fall night like someone had opened a freezer door to the cemetery.
That's where people say the glow comes from.
Nate lifted the camera and zoomed. At first he saw nothing, just dark trees, a line of brush. Then, like a bruise blooming under skin, a faint green smear pulsed behind the trunks. Nate lowered the camera. He didn't say anything. Denny did.
See?
Denny hissed.
That's not fucking headlights.
Shush.
Lila whispered, swatting his arm.
Well, that didn't take long.
Nate said. The green light blinked again. A slow, deliberate pulse, a hand covering a lantern, uncovering it, covering it again.
What is that?
Denny asked.
A signal or something?
Nate said. Lila felt the hair rise on her forearms.
All right.
She said, too brisk.
We get close. We keep it professional, no taunting. No, is anyone here with us? We're telling a story, not inviting company. Relax, guys. I mean, isn't this what we came here for?
Nate exhaled through his nose, a laugh that didn't quite form.
Fine. We'll be respectful to the what? Cemetery.
Denny thought of the twin lights over in Waterwitch. Demon eyes, he thought, always watching. He thought of the stories from his childhood, the ones his grandfather told on the porch at night. the abyss to hell, the traveling carnival, and the evil man of magic that never died. Three, roll call of the dead. They followed a narrow path between stones. Names passed beneath their flashlight beams like brief, embarrassed introductions, some worn down to soft marble smudges, some still sharp enough to cut the tongue. A crooked slate marker leaned out of the grass like it was trying to eavesdrop. Denny's light caught the green-tinged letters and he read them without thinking. Howard Rath. The name made the air feel suddenly tighter. A chill crawled up Denny's spine so fast it felt like an insect had found its way under his shirt. He swallowed and shone the beam lower. Beside the stone, half buried in weeds and fallen oak leaves, squatted a weathered little statue of Krampus, horns chipped, grin intact, a bundle of chains carved into its back as if someone had planted it there like a warning.
Who puts that on a grave?
Denny murmured.
New Jersey,
Nate said, but the joke landed dead. A few stones later, his light slid across another name half sunk in shadow, an older marker, granite darkened by a century of weather. Nimrod Wormwood, the lettering still proud, and below it, a date that jumped out like a warning, 1916. Denny paused, frowning.
Nimrod Wormwood.
He read under his breath, and the name felt like it belonged to a man who had once told the town what to fear. 2 rows over, another headstone flashed pale in the moonlight, clean enough that it looked recently scrubbed. Nate's flashlight found the name, and, against his better judgment, he read it out loud.
Nathan Seether.
Nate froze on the first word. Hearing his own name echoed back at him from stone felt like the cemetery had leaned close to whisper it. He cleared his throat, tried to laugh it off, and his breath came out thin. Under the name, in smaller letters that caught the light like a confession, it read, "Lived and died alone." Lila read one aloud without meaning to.
Owen.
The name sounded sad when it left her mouth. Nate paused.
What?
She pointed at the stone. It was small, child-sized, old enough that the edges were rounded, but not so old that time had erased it entirely. The tininess of it hit her. A sudden pinch of tears rose from the back of her eyes, sharp and unwanted, and she blinked hard as if she could blink the sadness back into her skull. Owen Caro, born 1920, died 1927. Under the name was a carving that made Lila's throat tighten, a little open book. And beneath that,
Good night, little light.
Lila read the words softly. The green glow answered immediately, a single slow pulse behind the trunks, dim, then bright, like something opening one eye.
Holy shit.
Denny said softly. Nate leaned closer, camera forgotten for the moment.
That's perfect.
Lila shot him a look. He lifted his hands in surrender.
I mean, for the episode, it's...
I know what you mean.
Lila said.
Just don't say it like that.
They stood there longer than a respectful pause should last. No one spoke. Then the green glow pulsed again, closer this time, brighter, as if their silence had been accepted and their attention claimed. Lila turned her head and saw something through the brush. White, a vertical strip, pale against darkness.
Guys!
She said. Nate followed her gaze.
Headstone?
No.
Lila whispered.
That.
The white thing shifted. Like cloth settling on a body, Denny's recorder lowered by a fraction, as if his hands had been told to stop.
Nate.
Lila said.
Do not.
Nate took a step.
Hello?
The brush rustled. The white moved deeper, almost inviting. Denny's voice was small.
We should go.
Nate lifted his flashlight. The beam cut the brush and caught a soft green light pulsed once from the cone of the flashlight. Then, a woman, or the shape of one, standing between the trees, half hidden, her back turned to them. White dress, long skirt, a shape that was too still, too clean-edged, like she'd been cut out and pasted into the woods. Lila couldn't see her face, couldn't see her hands, but she could see her posture. The posture of someone waiting to be read to, chin dipped, shoulders drawn in, as if bracing for the next line. She was maybe 40 feet away, tucked between two trunks and a tangle of brush, close enough to be unmistakable, but far enough that the darkness could still lie about her edges. An owl hooted somewhere deeper in the woods, a single hollow call that seemed to hang in the air long after it ended. Nate swallowed.
Ma'am?
The woman did not turn, but the green light brightened, just slightly, as if pleased. Lila felt something cold and unreasonable settle in her stomach, a certainty that the woman had been waiting, not for them, for a voice. 4. Marf's junk box. They backed away, slowly, carefully, like sudden movement might wake something that was pretending to sleep. The white shape remained motionless. The green light pulsed at a steady interval, calm and lazily. Lila grabbed Nate's sleeve and tugged him back toward the child's grave.
Nate!
She hissed.
We got it. We have our shot. We have our hook. Let's just leave.
Nate's eyes were fixed on the brush.
That's the lady in white. This is gonna make our channel blow.
Or that's a person.
Lila said.
A stranger. Or that's not our problem. But it will be if we don't leave.
Denny's recorder crackled. Static hissed, voices whispering in a strange tongue somewhere deep within the buzz. A sound came through it. A faint, thin voice, too close to the mic, breathy and damp, as if a child were whispering from inside the recorder's plastic shell.
Start over.
Denny stared at his own device like it had betrayed him. Lila snatched it. The little screen glowed red. Recording. Levels jumping. She pressed the headphone to her ear. The voice came again, clearer.
You skipped the part where he drowns.
Lila yanked the headphone away as if it burned. Nate's face had gone pale in flashlight light.
What? What the hell is that?
Denny's mouth opened and closed. Lila's fingers curled tight around the recorder.
We're leaving! Now!
Nate didn't move. His gaze dropped to the base of Owen Caro's stone. Something sat there that hadn't been there a moment ago. A small tin box, rusted at the edges, half sunk in earth like it had been exhaled from below. Its lid stamped with the words, Marf's Junk Box, in faded carnival lettering. A painted little clown pranced across the metal, a trumpet slung over his shoulder, one white-gloved hand reaching down to pick up a harmonica, as if he couldn't decide what song to play while he stuffed his treasures into a rainbow-spotted sack. One of the treasures was a baby doll, its head half ripped off and dangling, caught halfway out of the sack as if the clown had been interrupted in the middle of hiding it. Lila hadn't seen it before. Nate crouched. Lila reached for him. Too late. His fingers brushed the tin. The lid lifted with a soft, wet, gooey slap, like an eyeball being popped out of its socket. Inside lay a book, small, swollen, leather-bound, the cover warped as if it had been soaked and dried 100 times in the wrong kind of moonlight. The spine sagged, tired and unhappy, stitched with thread the sickly color of old sea glass. On the front cover, a picture had been painted in grim little detail. 2 lighthouses perched on a hilltop, their beams forming a pale cross over black water. Beneath them, a circle of women in black dresses held hands, their faces hooded by shadow, their hems brushed with the same faint green tint that pulsed in the trees. In the center of their ring stood a small boy dressed in all white, head bowed, waiting.
The twin lights.
Lila whispered.
The legend of Tiger Marf.
Denny breathed. The circle of women sat inside the wider chaos of a traveling carnival, a big top rising behind the hill, lanterns dangling like teeth, and tiny painted wagons crowding the edges of the scene, as though the whole ritual had been staged in the middle of laughter that didn't belong to children. Embossed on the front in faded gold, "Good night, little light." Lila's blood ran cold. Denny whispered,
That's the carving on the grave.
Nate lifted the book like it was precious, like it was a child, like it belonged in his hands. A stronger green pulse lit the trees, and for the first time, the woman in white shifted, Not her body, her position. Like a paper doll sliding across a page, deliberately slow, she was closer. 5. August 19th, 1927, when the carnival appeared.
We remember the first time she glowed. From deep below the soil we stand, Gog's locusts shuddered in the abyss, ready to feast upon our foundation. We knew something had arrived, because the town was full of music that didn't belong to the shore. Not just a tune, a calling. A brass band warming up with sour little notes. A calliope coughing out a waltz that sounded happy until you listened close. Most men missed it, blinded by lights and whistles. Children's cheers burst and collapsed like waves as they ran from booth to booth, penny candy in their fists, faces sticky with taffy. The awe of a crowd when a barker shouted about wonders behind canvas. The hush right before a curtain snapped open. A clown horn blasted somewhere, bright and rude.
I'm Calico the Good Clown. Pull my finger. Win a prize for just a small price.
Calico the clown jammed his finger at the crowd of children. The fingertip was painted red.
Tonight, you're in for a real treat. You, yes you, might just be the one, the special pal who gets to experience everything. Wouldn't that be something, kiddo?
The clack of a ring-toss bottle, the slap of wooden game paddles, the rattle of a hand-cranked popcorn roaster, coins chiming, tickets tearing, a preacher's disapproving murmur swallowed by laughter. You know the kind, full of spunk and pizzazz, makes you want to get all sassy and maybe misbehave. You might call it thrill, we call it mana. Tiger Marf's Frightmare Extravaganza arrived in late summer. Wagons and canvas and lanterns rolling in like a bruise. The locals called it a traveling carnival, but it did not travel in the way normal things travel. It appeared, emerging from shadows in caravans. Tiger Marf himself stood at the edge of the big top with his hat slouched low, scarlet band bright as a fresh cut, a long black feather rising from it with a kite-shaped green eyeball at its tip. His face looked carved from gnarl and bark. His eyes were jade, slit like a cat's, with something darker crossed inside them. He watched the town watch him, and we watched. And he smiled like a man who had never paid for anything in his life. Elizabeth Caro went with her husband that night. Bess, they called her, because the town liked to shorten women the way it shortened prayers. Harlan Caro walked beside her, dressed like respectability itself, a Middletown man with money and influence, and a reputation polished so bright it blinded. He'd come into a respectable sum years earlier through quiet dealings with Nimrod Wormwood, the shore's famous mason, the kind of man people spoke of in the same tone they used for church statues and family graves. It was all stonework on paper, cemetery borders, new markers, a few improvements paid for by committees and handshakes, but the numbers never quite sat straight. And Harlan always seemed to be standing on the side of the ledger that stayed dry. Wormwood had kept a smooth, peanut-shaped beach stone on his desk to hold down plans when the bay wind tried to snatch them. Folks called it the Peanut Stone. After Wormwood died, that little stone somehow found its way into Harlan's possession, and Harlan carried it now like a charm, warm in his pocket, heavy as a secret, as if it could keep certain papers from ever blowing open. A slick mustache sat on his lip, waxed and curled at the ends into tight little swirls, as if even his face had been trained to look smug. Bess wore a pale dress, not white, not yet, hair pinned in a neat twist. She held her belly with one hand without noticing she did it. Tiger Marf saw it. So did we. He lifted 2 fingers and made a small motion, like plucking a string. The lanterns around the big top flickered green for half a second. Nobody else noticed. Bess did. We did. She turned, slow, as if the light had touched her cheek. Tiger's voice slipped into the air without effort.
Mrs. Caro!
She was startled.
Do I know you?
Tiger's smile widened.
Not yet.
Harlan's jaw tightened.
We're here for the show.
Ah, but of course.
Tiger's eyes never left Bess.
And the show is always here for you.
Bess felt something in her chest, a small, bright panic, like a match struck in the dark.
I don't.
Tiger leaned closer. The air around him smelled faintly of wet canvas and old copper.
You have water in your blood,
He murmured.
and light in your bones. Do you feel it?
Bess swallowed hard.
I feel cold.
Tiger nodded, pleased.
Good. Cold keeps things from spoiling.
Harlan stepped between them.
My wife is not interested in your carnival talk.
Tiger looked at Harlan at last, and the night around them seemed to inhale.
Ah,
Tiger said softly.
the father.
Harlan bristled.
Excuse me?
Tiger's smile showed no kindness.
No, I said it correctly.
Harlan's face flushed.
We're leaving.
Bess's hand tightened on Harlan's sleeve. She tried to pull him back, calm him, and smooth the moment. Tiger's voice drifted after them.
Your sun will shine,
He called, light and sweet.
even if you don't want him to. I can use that light for benefits.
Harlan stopped dead. Bess felt her stomach drop, as if the earth had opened a small mouth beneath her feet. Harlan turned, slowly.
Son,
He said, his voice sharp.
what did you say?
Tiger's eyes glinted.
Nothing you haven't already feared.
The carnival music swelled.
Best keep that pig of yours in the pen.
Tiger jeered. Harlan snorted, turned on his heels, and dragged Bess away. We watched their silhouettes retreat. We watched the town begin whispering. We watched a reputation develop a crack, and then the stain was born. And we watched a mother, not yet mourning, touch her belly again and again, as if checking for a heartbeat that would not behave.
6. The Bluff Walk.
Beneath us, the Gog's locust stirred, the horses without faces, lions' teeth, scorpion-like tails. In the bottomless pit fragments of the star seeped out the day Owen Caro was born. It was in spring, and the first thing the nurse said was, his eyes. Too green. Not hazel, not gray, not any respectable Caro shade of brown. Green, like the bay water when sunlight hits it at the wrong angle. Harlan looked once and looked away. The town looked and decided. They decided Bess had been unfaithful. They decided she was strange. They decided strange women could infect children. Bess tried to laugh at it, tried to keep her life clean, but the whispers got into everything, like sand in bedding. Harlan took Owen out less and less. He held him like a burden when people were watching and ignored him when they weren't. Bess, in secret, read to Owen. Every night, she sat at the edge of his bed with a small book Tiger Marf had left behind on their porch without explanation. Good night, little light. She knew it was Marf who left it. The pages were thin and smelled faintly metallic. The ink shimmered in low light, not fully green, but eager. And every time Bess closed the book, that cover stared back at her again in truer detail. Us. Our two twin lights, our maker, Mr. Nimrod Wormwood, had built on that hill. And below our hulk, a circle of black-dressed women, hand in hand, hoods up. In the center stood a small boy in white, shoes clean, collar buttoned, head bowed like he was waiting for a name to be spoken. Behind them, the carnival crowded the scene, the big top rising like a dark lung, Lanterns strung in crooked lines, wagons painted with stars that looked more like eyes. Off to one side, a little vignette that made Bess's stomach tighten every time she noticed it. A clown balanced on a barrel, juggling 6 black stones that seemed to absorb the painted light. A trumpet hung over his shoulder on a strap. Over his head, a banner arched in cheerful letters that felt sarcastic on leather and shadow. Calico, the happy clown of Water Witch. The smile on Calico's face was too wide to be kind, like the story already knew how it would end and couldn't wait to watch. But Owen loved it. He loved the way the words felt, the way the last line made the room seem safer. And sometimes, when Bess read, Owen would stare past her shoulder at the window, toward the highlands, toward us.
Lights.
Owen would whisper. Bess would pause.
What, sweet pea?
They're watching.
Bess would force a laugh and continue reading. Because mothers are good at lying to themselves until the lie becomes a habit. But we knew the boy had something, a knowing, a light inside him that could be used to illuminate a dark path home, or a fire that could burn a town to ashes. By then, Owen was 7, all knees and sharp elbows, old enough to notice when a room went quiet around him. Harlan barely spoke to the boy. He was always busy, always dressed for a meeting, always chasing the next handshake and headline. Politics swelling in his life like a second heart. At home, Owen became background noise. That week, the background started talking back. At a crowded supper in town, a donor's wife leaned close with sugar on her breath and sympathy in her eyes and asked, far too casually, "How's the little one? Still got those carnival eyes?" Someone laughed. Someone else pretended they didn't. Harlan felt every gaze slide to him like a blade looking for a soft spot. Then a man at the end of the table, old enough to remember when certain names were treated like scripture, set down his fork and said with a soft, public sadness, "Nimrod Wormwood would have been ashamed, Harlan." Harlan's smile stayed glued in place. The man continued, voice lowering, "Your wife betting a man from that carnival, and you parading the boy around like it's nothing." A few people shifted uncomfortably. A few pretended not to hear. The words had already landed where they were meant to land. Harlan tasted copper behind his teeth and kept smiling anyway, because that is what respectable men do when they are being stabbed politely. Then the paper came, not a headline, a mention. A small paragraph tucked low, the kind of thing respectable men fear more than scandal because it looks like nothing. Rumors persist about the green-eyed Caro boy. Harlan folded the page so tight it creased like bone. 2 days from then, he was scheduled to shake hands on a dais, smile for a photographer, and sell himself as clean as a Sunday. And in the back of his mind, the same thought kept tapping, calm and relentless. So came the night Harlan offered.
"I'll take him.
Harlan said, voice too gentle.
Just for a little walk. The bay air will do him good."
Bess's stomach twisted.
It's late.
"He's my son.
Harlan snapped, then softened.
Let me, please."
Bess hesitated, and that hesitation was where the story broke. He took the boy up where the land broke hard toward the bay, bluff-edge paths cut through scrub and salt grass, the ground slanting into darkness. Below, the water moved without making a promise. Above, our lights began their slow sweep, those 2 pale blades combing the shoreline. Owen stood near the lip of the drop, small in his white collar, staring out as if he could hear something under the waves. When our beams passed over him, the light caught in his eyes and made them flare a dull, unnatural green, wet glass. The fog rolled as thick as wool. The bay made its small, endless sounds. A buoy bell clanged out there, distant, lonely. like a lost ghost crying for a grave. We swept our beams over them, slow. Harlan looked up. He saw us, and in that light his face seemed older, harder. Owen looked up too. He smiled. Harlan's hand tightened on Owen's small shoulder.
Listen.
Harlan said, voice low.
Do you know what people are saying?
Owen blinked.
Mama says not to listen to whispers.
Harlan's laugh was humorless.
Your mama is the whisper.
Owen frowned, confused. Harlan leaned in close.
Do you know what you are?
Owen's lip trembled.
A big boy?
Harlan's voice became a blade.
A mistake.
Harlan pushed him. Owen went with hardly a sound, just a soft gasp. He struck the rocks below with a wet finality the wind tried to carry away. When our lights swung back, their beams found him at the bottom like a needle finding a vein. His body lay crooked in the stone shadow, and his dead eyes were open, the green in them still faintly there, staring up at the light as if he'd been waiting for us to notice him. Harlan stood above, breathing hard through his nose, the mustache on his lip perfectly curled. When he finally turned back toward town, he said it once, practicing the lie until it sounded like truth.
The boy had slipped.
7. Funeral White.
They told Bess it was an accident. They told her it was a tragedy. They told her the town mourned with her. They said it with faces that practiced sympathy like a performance. Harlan held her elbow at the service like he owned her grief. Bess wore a white dress, not because she wanted to, because black felt like it belonged to Harlan. White was hers. She stood over Owen's small casket and felt a quiet hatred grow inside her, so pure it was almost peaceful. When the last condolences were spoken, when the last hand squeezed her shoulder, when the last polite lie left the room, Bess did something no one saw. She slid the children's book from her purse and pressed it against the casket.
Good night,
She whispered.
little light.
Harlan leaned close.
Stop making a scene.
Bess looked at him, really looked. His eyes did not reflect the candles right. He was already a shadow pretending to be a man. Bess smiled, and it was not a warm smile.
It's okay.
She said softly.
I'll read him home.
That night she went to the Bayview Cemetery alone. She knelt at Owen's grave and opened the book. The air tasted damp. The trees leaned in. The ground felt too soft under her knees, like it was breathing. Bess read. We listened. The words slid out of her mouth with a strange ease, as if they had been waiting behind her teeth. When she reached the last page, she froze. The last page was missing, torn out clean. Bess stared at the ragged edge of paper, heart pounding. A green glow pulsed behind the trees, and a voice, thin as a child's whisper, came from the ground.
Start over.
Bess's breath shook. She did. She read again and again until her throat was raw and her eyes burned. The green glow brightened every time she spoke, like the cemetery was drinking her voice. When dawn came, Bess stood, dress stained with wet grass, and looked toward the highlands, toward us. Our beams turned over her like a blessing. Bess smiled up at our lights. She made a vow that turned her into something the world could not correct.
I'll come every night.
She whispered.
I'll keep him bright. I'll keep him here.
She did not understand what she was promising. Or maybe she did.
8. The first sentence. Nate opened the swollen book in his hands. Lila snatched at his wrist.
No, we're not doing that.
Nate blinked at her as if she'd slapped him.
It's a book. Plus, this is great material.
It's bait.
Lila said. Denny's recorder crackled again.
Read.
A woman's voice, soft, patient, certain. Nate's eyes unfocused for a moment. Lila watched his throat bob and his lips part.
Nate,
She said, sharper.
don't.
Nate looked at her like he couldn't remember why she was important. Then his gaze dropped to the page, and he began to read. His voice came out wrong, higher, softer, almost sweet, the cadence unmistakably female, like someone else had stepped into his throat and claimed it. Lila's head snapped toward him. Denny barked a nervous laugh. Nate didn't even look at them. His lips kept moving, then his eyes rolled back, slow as a tide. When they returned, his irises had become green, pulsing orbs.
Once upon a time,
Nate read.
there was a boy who could not sleep because the night kept stealing his name.
The green light flared.
Stop fucking around, Nathan.
Lila shook his arm. The trees around them seemed to shift, trunks leaning, making room. The woman in white stepped out from the brush. Now Lila could see her clearly. Her dress was old-fashioned, lace at the collar, sleeves long. Her hair was pinned tight. Her face was pale and still, expression calm, almost gentle. Her eyes were wrong. They reflected green, not just catching it. Holding it, she moved toward them without sound. Denny backed up, a choked noise in his throat.
Hey lady, stop! Stay the fuck away! I mean it!
His voice cracked as he screamed, in a softer, stern voice.
Nate, bro! Stop! Stop reading, man!
Nate did not stop. He couldn't. The words were pulling themselves out through him. Lila grabbed the book and yanked. The pages resisted like muscle. The woman in white tilted her head slightly, as if amused. Lila's flashlight beam shook as she swung it up at the woman's face. The woman smiled, and when she smiled, the air smelled like wet paper and bay water.
Good evening,
The woman said. Her voice was the same voice on the recorder.
I'm so glad you've come.
She added, as if this were a visit arranged long ago. Lila's mouth went dry.
Who are you?
The woman's gaze slid past Lila, settling on Nate.
My son's story
She said softly.
needs a father's voice.
Denny whispered.
No!
The woman's eyes flicked to Denny like a knife tasting a new edge. 9. The green glow is not light. It is an opening. Lila tried to pull Nate back, tugging on the hood of his sweatshirt. His body moved awkwardly, like a puppet with tangled strings. But his voice did not falter. The words continued.
He listened for the lights that never sink atop the hill, and the water which wind in the reeds, that call and claim, and he promised he would stay awake until the dark forgot his name. But the ground kept a mouthful of secrets, and even the peanut stone couldn't hold them down forever.
The green glow brightened, and Lila realized with sick clarity that the glow wasn't coming from one place. It was coming from everywhere the story touched, from the edges of stones, from damp leaves, from the air itself. The cemetery was lighting up like a nervous system. The woman in white lifted one hand. In that hand was nothing, but the gesture was enough. Denny's recorder slipped out of Lila's grip and dropped to the grass. It landed face up. The red light blinked, still recording. The woman looked down at it with affection.
A good little jar,
She whispered.
holding voices for me.
Lila backed up a few feet, tugging at Nate.
Come on.
She begged him.
Come on, please.
Nate's eyes were wide, tears gathering without meaning.
I can't.
His voice continued reading. His voice was no longer his. The woman stepped closer, her dress not rustling, not dragging, simply existing in space.
You've done very well, Nathan.
She told him.
He likes you.
Lila's throat tightened.
Where's your son?
The woman's smile deepened. She turned her head toward Owen's stone, and the ground behind it pulsed green. Something small moved there, a shadow, child height, rising as if from deep water. Lila's breath caught. 2 eyes opened in that shadow, bright green. And when the child smiled, his teeth looked predator sharp.
Mom?
Lila whispered, not even knowing why she said it. The woman's gaze snapped to Lila.
Oh,
She said softly.
no, dear.
Her eyes moved over Lila's face in slow, deliberate passes. Lingering at the corners of her mouth, the damp shine on her lashes, the tremble trying to hide in her throat.
You don't get to be mother.
She said. Then her eyes returned to Nate.
You get to be the story.
10. The phone answers itself. Nate's voice stumbled. A pause. His eyes darted across the book.
It's missing,
He choked.
The last page is gone.
The woman in white's expression did not change, but the green light around them brightened, and Lila felt the air press in, heavy and wet. The woman stepped forward until she was inches from Nate.
You have it.
She said gently. Nate shook his head, terrified.
I don't.
The woman stretched her arm and placed 2 fingers against Nate's throat. The touch was light, but Nate's voice changed instantly, becoming deeper, steadier, a father's voice, a voice Owen had never gotten enough of. Nate's gaze drifted toward Lila's jacket pocket. Her phone buzzed on vibrate, sharp and insistent against denim, like a yellow jacket trapped in a jar. Then it rang, and the sound that spilled out wasn't her ringtone. A thin, tinny carnival jingle, all crooked cheer and wrong tempo, a trumpet tune that kept slipping off key as if the notes were wet. Lila yanked the phone free. The screen didn't show a contact name. It didn't even show a number, just a faint green smear where the caller ID should have been.
Lila, don't answer.
Denny started. A soft inhale came through first, like a child leaning too close to the mic. Then a voice slid out of the speaker, small and pleased.
Read it.
Owen whispered, and underneath, layered like a second breath, the woman's voice hummed with patient authority. The phone screen flickered, green bled across it, filling it like ink. Words appeared, curling in a child's storybook font. The screen showed a page, a final page, the torn page. The woman's eyes glowed brighter.
Read it.
She whispered to Nate, her smile stretched too wide and taut. Lila shook her head hard.
No, we're not.
The woman looked at Lila. Denny's voice drifted in from somewhere far away, dreamy and wrong, like it had to travel a long hallway to reach them.
Read it, buddy.
He murmured, almost smiling.
It'll be swell.
No. Whatever you do, do not read it. That's what she wants. Don't.
Lila begged, and for the first time, the woman in white's calm cracked. Anger flashed through her face like lightning through cloth.
You don't interrupt bedtime.
She hissed. The cemetery's green glow surged. Lila felt pressure in her ears, like being underwater, and from somewhere close, very close, a child whispered into her hair.
Don't make her mad.
Lila's knees went weak. Nate snatched the phone and shoved Lila in the same motion, and he read, 11. Stay bright. Stay here. Nate swallowed, eyes green and glassy, and read the last line anyway, voice deep as thunder now.
Good night, little light. Stay bright. Stay here.
The green glow became blinding, bright like a thing that wanted to be seen, like the last light before death claims. The air split, not with sound, with sensation. A seam opening in reality, right above Owen's grave. Lila saw something behind it. Not heaven, not hell. A place like wet canvas and endless night, filled with soft laughter and distant music. A carnival sound, a big top sound, and underneath it, like a steel spine being dragged across the world, the chain lift clatter of the haunted house roller coaster, cars ratcheting up into darkness, the wooden track groaning, then the drop, and the scream bloom of the crowd as it plunged through painted tombstones and papier-mâché jaws, and children screaming about a frightmare, a voice somewhere in that green-lit dark, amused and familiar.
Good.
Tiger Marf murmured, almost lovingly.
A father's voice at last.
The seam widened. The woman in white stepped back, posture suddenly reverent. She wasn't the boss. She was the worker. Owen's shadow stepped forward, small body outlined in green, eyes shining like lanterns. He looked at Nate, and Nate's face twisted in grief and terror and something else. Recognition, as if he had always known this story would end with him.
I'm sorry,
Nate whispered, but his voice was weak and pathetic, and his own,
I'm so sorry.
Owen smiled, and the smile was not childlike. It was hungry. Owen's eyes stayed on Nate.
You'll do.
Owen said softly.
A father's voice. That's all I ever wanted.
Nate tried to speak. Nothing came out but a thin, useless breath. Owen tilted his head, listening to Nate's silence like it was music.
My real father went down into Gog.
He murmured, almost fond.
The soil took him slow, kept him. It's toasty down there.
The green in Owen's eyes pulsed brighter.
And you're coming too.
He smiled wider, like the idea was oh so delicious.
When you get here, I'm going to open you up behind your eyes and eat what you were thinking.
He let the last words stretch, sing-song and wrong.
Forever and ever and ever, I am going to eat your fucking brains.
A tiny breath of laughter escaped him, not joyful, not human.
Good night, little light.
Owen lifted one hand. Nate's mouth opened, and a fat grasshopper flew into his mouth, and his voice poured out. Not words, sounds, grunts, howls, and squealing. A long ribbon of his throat unspooling like tape. The green glow drank it. The cemetery drank it. The seam drank it. Lila screamed. A small cloud of grasshoppers burst from the opening, their bodies clicking like spilled nails. Their eyes were teardrop red, too big and too wet. They scattered into the moonlight and vanished, as if the night swallowed them whole. But the scream came out thin, strangled. The woman in white watched calmly.
You see,
She said softly to Lila, as if explaining a bedtime lesson.
he stays bright.
Owen's eyes never left Nate. Nate's skin began to take on a faint green sheen, like bioluminescence beneath flesh. Denny stood a few steps back with his mouth half open, frozen between a sob and a laugh, staring at Nate's arms the way you stare at a nightmare you almost recognize. In his head flashed a stupid childhood memory he hadn't touched in years. That creepy crawler's bugmaker toy, the little hot plate in the molds, the rubbery things you'd pour and watch turn glossy and wrong. Nate's skin looked like that now, something being made. His pupils reflected the lighthouse beam now, not as a dot, but as a shape, a lens, a turning, a rotating hunger. And then Nate's body stepped backward towards the seam as if the ground had become a moving walkway. Lila instincts kicked in and she snatched Nate's car keys hanging from the belt loop of his pants. He went without resistance. He went like a man going home. The seam snapped shut, the green glow dimmed, not gone. Never gone, just satisfied. For now. 12. Escape is not a cure. Lila ran. Denny followed, stumbling, sobbing, not even trying to be quiet. Lila boots slipped on wet leaves. Branches snatched at her hair and jacket like hands that didn't want her leaving. The green glow throbbed behind her, not chasing, not hurrying. She cut between two rows of stones and nearly went down, catching herself on a leaning marker slick with moss. Her gaze skated across another headstone. The name was carved in big, cheerful letters that didn't belong in a graveyard. CALICO. Below it, in smaller script, like a tagline on a poster, "The Good Clown," and under that, almost mocking, a final line, "Of Water Witch." Someone had etched a tiny trumpet into the stone, slung over the clown's shoulder, and the clown's grin was cut so deep it caught shadow like teeth. Lila's stomach turned, because she could hear it, not in the distance, not in memory. A soft, tinny little honk, like a clown horn being squeezed very gently, very patiently, right behind her ear. She looked back. Denny had caught up.
Keep going!
He gasped out of breath. Lila ran harder. They crashed through the gate and into the road, the car waiting like a miracle that didn't deserve them. Lila fumbled keys with shaking hands, jammed them into ignition. The engine coughed, started. Headlights washed over the cemetery entrance. She slid the seat forward to reach the pedals. For a moment, everything looked normal. Just stones, trees, dark. Then the green glow pulsed behind the tree line again, faint as a heartbeat, but warning enough. And Lila saw the woman in white standing at the edge of the cemetery, watching them leave. She watched with the patient certainty of something that knows time will bring you back. As they drove, Lila glanced in the rearview mirror. The twin lights' beams swept the bay. One beam crossed the road behind them, then the other. For a moment, it looked like the lights were looking directly into the car. Two demon eyes, counting. Denny was crying quietly in the back seat, repeating,
No, no, no.
like the repetition might undo something. Lila's phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down. A notification from the audio recorder app. New file saved. goodnight_little_light_final.wav. She hadn't been recording on her phone. She hadn't hit record. The file was there anyway, a gift or a trap. Epilogue. Your voice is a match. Lila didn't sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table with the lights on, phone face down like it was a snake. She had dropped Denny off at his brother's house. He texted her asking if and when they call the cops. Lila ignored him. Nate did not exist in her contact list anymore. His name was gone. His last text thread had vanished, as if she had imagined him, as if the cemetery had eaten the proof, as if the green light had consumed his existence. At 2:13 a.m., her phone buzzed again. Lila flipped it over with 2 fingers. The screen glowed faintly green. A play button sat in the center. Her finger hovered. Don't. She pressed play. Nate's voice filled the kitchen. Calm, steady, reading.
Once upon a time,
Nate's voice said.
there was a boy who could not sleep because the night kept stealing his name.
Lila's breath caught. The audio continued. The words were unrecognizable whispers and chanting. And under Nate's voice, faint, delighted, a child whispered along, repeating the words like a prayer. Then the woman's voice entered, soft as a lullaby.
Good.
She murmured.
Good boy.
Lila backed away from the phone. The kitchen lights flickered once. Green seeped under the front door like fog with intent. Lila turned toward the window. Outside, far in the distance, the twin lights swept the night. One beam, then the other, and for a moment, both beams angled slightly, as if converging, as if looking not at the bay, but at her house. The eerie whispering chants stopped. Lila's lips trembled. She reached out to turn off her phone, but before her finger touched the screen, the audio stopped on its own. Silence, then a new sound. The phone buzzed again, like grasshoppers clicking. Then it rang. Not her ringtone, a crooked little carnival trumpet tune, tinny and bright, wobbling off key. Lila held the phone away from her face, thumb hovering, frozen. The screen showed no name, no number, just a clown and fire emoji. A voice spilled out, cheerful as paint, wrong as a bruise.
Hiya, Lila. It's Calico the Good Clown.
It said warm and sing-song.
Ain't you just the bravest girl in Leonardo?
Her blood went cold. The voice kept going, still smiling.
Nathan is with him now.
Calico chirped, like sharing good news at a birthday party.
Him and Owen can be pals. 2 little lights in the dark.
The trumpet tune fizzled behind the words, like a band lowering its horns to listen. Calico's voice softened.
See, we're in hell, sweetheart. Not the fire and pitchfork kind. The one-way ticket kind.
A tiny giggle clicked and stopped.
Bayview Cemetery is a gate. No refunds. No returns.
Lila's throat locked. Then a second sound slid in under Calico's voice, close to the mic, breathy and pleased.
Bedtime.
He whispered. Calico gave a delighted little sigh, like a host introducing a star.
Go on,
Calico murmured.
He wants his story.
Owen's voice brightened, sharp with need.
Start over.
A child's voice, close to the microphone, close enough to fog the lens.
One more page.
Lila froze, because the voice wasn't coming from the phone anymore. It was coming from the hall. Small footsteps pattered behind her. An off-key bugle horn blared, and from somewhere deeper in the house, a woman's voice answered, patient and pleased.
Of course.
She whispered.
Bedtime, my little light.
The green glow brightened at the edges of Lila's vision. Lila heard it, soft at first, almost mistaken for wind, the distant hush of a midway, the cheer of children far away, and threaded through it all an eerie little trumpet tune, thin and tinny, like a carnival calling her by name.
And we, the twin lights, turned our beams slowly across the coastline, never blinking, because this is what we do. We watch, we count, oh, and we wait. The fiery depths of Gog stirs evermore. The anchors bind deeper into the earth's flesh with each story told. And when a story needs a voice, we help it find one. And the Twin Lights Caravan rides at night, searching for willing passengers. Good night.